think it's probably no surprise what topic we are going to be hitting today. Obviously, pretty quickly after we went off the air, within a few hours, there was the beginning of what is a pretty much full-scale war that feels like it has broken out now in the Middle East with Iran. President Trump is speaking right now.
This just happened moments ago. It's a White House event where a Medal of Honor is being given out. It's a Medal of Honor ceremony. But, of course, he updated quickly the American people on Operation Epic Fury. Let's go ahead and play this bite.
Today, the United States military continues to carry out large-scale combat operations in Iran to eliminate the grave threats posed to America by this terrible terrorist regime. Following our obliteration of Iran's nuclear program in Operation Midnight Hammer a short while ago, we warned Iran not to make any attempt to rebuild at a different location because they were unable to use the ones that we so powerfully blew up. But they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons. In addition, the regime's conventional ballistic missile program was growing rapidly and dramatically, and this posed a very clear, colossal threat to America and our forces stationed overseas. The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America. The purpose of this fast-growing missile program was to shield their nuclear weapon development and make it extraordinarily difficult for anyone to stop them from making these highly forbidden, by us, nuclear.
Those that say that President Trump started a war, no, he's ending a war that's been going on since the Iranian Revolution. Remember, they've been killing Americans wherever they can since 1979.
Yes.
Now, that is one point, that this is hopefully an end to that war, not a beginning of a new war. Right. Two, he's talking about the Gulf states. Iran's miscalculation here, and maybe it's because of the loss of leadership initially, like the very first strike took out their supreme leader, but the recklessness that you've seen of attacking the UAE, Qatar, the Kuwait, the international airport, the main terminal in Kuwait, you're talking about Bahrain, all of these countries that are actually friendly with Iran. Many of them are not just like neutral, but friendly with Iran, and they're not attacking military installations. They were attacking with ballistic missiles civilian sites, hotels in Dubai, the commercial airport terminal at the international airport in Kuwait. That is such a big miscalculation because now you're seeing Saudi Arabia leading with these other Gulf nations saying, hey, wait a second, we're going to strike back too. What are you doing here, Iran?
Yes, I think, listen, Iran's entire miscalculation was they lost Hamas after October 7th. They lost 50% of Gaza is now not even under control of any Hamas elements. Hezbollah was decimated, and Nasrallah that taken out. And you had I think two more successors to him taken out. Hezbollah, the pagers, all of that. So they no longer had, and in Syria, because of the overthrow of the Assad government and really their own civil war that's been ongoing since the end of ISIS, they're not effective anymore for Iran. So Iran no longer had the surrounding terror groups ready to go whenever Israel would strike. We knew that when Israel took action after October 7th, and there was minimal action by those groups. Hamas did what they could with their smaller rockets, but they didn't do much. Iran fired what they could, and we're seeing that firing into Israel seems like it's gotten less and less by the day. And so the decision, though, to try and hit the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, yes, we have bases in those places, but they weren't just hitting those American bases. That is how, again, the Middle East unites around the Abraham Accords. And we can, without necessarily putting hundreds of thousands of boots on the ground, President Trump could be known as the president that did bring peace to the Middle East. It doesn't mean that everywhere is going to be perfect all the time and that it's all going to be a democratic republic, because that doesn't necessarily work in this part of the world. But what it does mean is that there are new allies. And when Israel is being fired on by the same enemy as the UAE is being fired on, and Qatar and Bahrain, and Yemen is firing, and the Houthi rebels are firing at our allies as well, this is a new alliance, and it shows by the way, we can be allies with Israel and those other countries at the same time to take out a country and leadership, which is the terror leader of the world, Iran, and do it together without Europe.
Yeah, and in theory,
Europe looks like a joke right now.
Yeah.
They were condemning this, and these actions should be taken. I know the Saudis have to say one thing on TV and another thing in person. They don't want a nuclear Iran, and this is probably the end of that.
Jeff, I did want to get an update from you. We obviously had a historic weekend for America and for Israel, but what are your thoughts?
It feels biblical. It feels biblical in the streets of Israel, where even though people are celebrating, even though they're in shelters, it's shelters all the time. It's there's sleepless nights. The rockets are falling down. There's been loss of life, unfortunately, tragically. They're still missing people under the rubble. But again, it's right now the numbers are relatively low. What's fascinating though is the way Iran has reacted. It seems to be that they're trying to drag in the Gulf states. I'm actually was just looking at a briefing before it's been published from Israeli military briefing about their assessment of what's happening here and where we're moved. It's right in front of me right now. The fact that Hezbollah has gotten involved now, they didn't get involved the last time there was direct conflict between Iran and Israel back a few months ago. Hezbollah stayed out of it. Now they got involved. It's all new ground, but thank God President Trump seems dedicated to staying the course, changing this regime, which has inflicted terrible violence on American assets and really does have a goal and has had the goal of eradicating America, wiping out our civilization and either replacing it with their own or just killing us.
There's been a lot of conversations around, well, President Trump said he'd always be at the negotiation table, that this would be conversations that would happen. I do think there is such a fundamental, it's hard for us to wrap our heads around it. But we've worked in it for so long, it's a little easier for us. There is a fundamental disconnect between your values and the values that someone like the Iranian government, the Ayatollah, have. For human life, for humanity, for people in general. Those are Western values. Those are Christian values. Those are not values that find themselves native. They're not just born into us. It feels like they are sometimes, but they're not. So when you try to get to the negotiation table with people that don't value their own people or don't value their own lives or don't value any kind of peace, you end up with these kind of situations. Go talk to your Iranian or Persian friends, if they have any. Usually they live in an echo chamber, and they don't. Because you know what you're going to find? You're going to find maybe 1 out of every 100 that does not agree with this. This is where all of them seem to agree. The praise in the streets. Look what's happening right now in our country and there, all over the world. Don't let the narrative that gets put on you as some guilt trip outweigh the actual good that's happened here.